Are we live? Yes, we're live. We're live. Hey guys, it's Old Man G here, back again for Red Devil Studio. And today we're back with another Red Devil Studio Live. So just moving Red Devil Studio Live podcast. I'm joined by Sean and Muntaha. And anyone else who wants to come involved, so the link is obviously will be in the comments box and is on Twitter. And we're going to get into a few key topics. We're going to talk about, in fact, the Bundesliga is back. We're going to talk about how good is Erling Haaland, a bit about the Scottish Premier League and the breaking news that they've sort of ended the season early and what that means, and then obviously with the Premier League returning as well. So I just think without further ado, we'll just get into the first topic, and that is the fact that the Bundesliga is back. The Bundesliga is back. Football is back. Germany obviously leading the way in everything, as they usually do. So I want to just sort of open the floor with, we'll start with Josh. Josh, how does it feel that football is back in the form of the Bundesliga?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just good to have some football back in this troubling times, you know. Like, I believe the first sort of major sporting event post-COVID, well, you know, as it's still going on, was the UFC. You know, Dana White hired like a fight island, and it's all a bit of a mess. But football, you know, is the world's biggest sport, and it's just kind of nice to have something to keep us going. You know, we. In recent years, especially when I've been watching football, like, you know, we've seen incredible comebacks in the Champions League, just like incredible, you know, fans and everything like that. And these things just, it encourages you a little bit, you know, it helps you, you know, kind of take your mind off things, but also like when you watch a team that just never gives up, you know, it kind of stirs something in you as well. So it's good just to be able to like watch some football, you know, it's a bit more than that in a minute, help us distract our mind from things. But yeah, it's good.
Cool. Okay. Going to Muntaha, what do you think? Muntaha, you there? Oh, did I meet?
Hello.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I can hear you. So I think I was my fault. Go for it, man.
Yeah, so like I pretty much agree with just Josh said. You know, it's a kind of like distraction from, like, you know, the problems and all those have, like, because of COVID-19. And I believe that it was a really good experience after watching football like 2 months or more than that. And quite relief for me as well. And the way, you know, I mean, the quality was a bit low. I was expecting something, you know. I understand because of training sessions and everything, but like I pretty much enjoyed the football. And you can see, you know, I mean, how much fans make the difference in the stadium and to the game, you know. Fan gives some extra edge or like some different life atmosphere, you know, when it comes to, you know, football, stadium full of fans, you know. And the quality was pretty good, I believe. I mean, not good. What I mean is, like, especially for the Bayern game, it was like pretty slow, I believe. And you can see that, like, you know, there are a bit more players are rusty, you know, with their touches, with the crosses and everything. Dortmund game was like, oh my God, so one-sided, not gonna lie. I mean, Dortmund pretty much destroyed, you know. I mean, Schalke in every aspect of the game, I believe, from defense, from attack. You can pretty much see that Schalke was not ready for this game. But ultimately, you know, this is what football and this is what gives you. And we as a football fans, I mean, we really enjoy this thing. And I hope this continues. I'm being optimistic. Like, we don't find any positive cases for the players, at least, or for the rest of the teams in Bundesliga. So it might give hope to, you know, other leagues as well. For example, Prem, La Liga, and Serie A as well. So I hope so, you know. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Shawnee, what's your take on what's your general feeling about the Bundesliga being back?
Yep. I think I was saying on the last podcast when I was on with Shane, you know, I'd imagine all of the world's eyes will be on the Bundesliga, not because of the football. Well, partly because of the football is obviously a contributing factor, but also just to see how it's going to go. and just to test the waters a little bit, because I think what they're really scared of is what's going to happen next season. You know, if worst case scenario comes to worst, can we play an entire season how we're doing it now? You know, and how would that work money wise and all that kind of stuff? Because obviously fans are like a big part of the revenue. So I think just everyone from all around the world just had their eyes glued to Germany and just going to see how it works out. And Germany just going to feel it out for us, because like I said, they were kind of like the test bunnies for all of this. But say, you know, I don't want any harm to come out of this, you know, like providing that everything's done safely and we don't get any more spread, because it would be a real shame if we brought it back too early and you know, all of a sudden you know, it causes more harm than what's done. But I'm sure that it was very, very well thought through by the World Health Organization as well as everybody else. I was really excited to see that it was still on, as well as you know, I watched the highlights and everything like that. I was made up to see everyone back and forth swing of things, even though it was really weird. You know, seeing a team on the attack and and even though there was the team was on the attack, there wasn't really much in the stadium. It was just like kind of like a silent run, you know, up the pitch, followed by a few cheers, you know, from the benches, obviously. So yeah, very, very strange. But I think generally it's been very positive, and I just hope that continues. And you know, we're going to be stronger at the other end of it.
No, I think everyone has basically sort of summarized what my feelings are on the whole thing as well. I think that, you know, it's obviously strange, it's weird that the fans aren't there, and it's clearly obvious. I mean, this was played, the game that I watched, which was Dortmund against Schalke. You know, this was played in Dortmund, and you know, Dortmund is famous for the kind of the yellow war and you know, the atmosphere the Dortmund fans sort of have, and then for that to just not be there was just quite strange. What I would say though, which I thought was interesting, because Montaha mentioned about the sort of quality, is that I generally feel that, like, and I think this might have a precedent if the Premier League comes back, and talk about that later, about fitness. You know, it's about fitness, and it was obvious. Schalke were okay. They went for it for a bit. Oh, Hazem's in. Let me add Hazem into the chat as well. Hazem, bro, how you doing? You okay?
Yo, good, man. How about you? We're
doing fine. We're literally just talking about everyone's feeling that the Bundesliga is back, how they feel about it, was it what they expected, etc., and how do we see things going forward. So, but yeah, I was just saying that I feel that fitness for me is going to be the big thing here, because certainly looking at Dortmund-Schalke game, I think had the season not stalled this abruptly, it probably would have been a closer game. But watching that game, it was obvious that Dortmund were fitter than the Schalke team. I mean, I don't know what you think. How's your general feeling about football being back and what in the form of the Bundesliga, and you know, how you feel about it?
Oh, me?
Yeah, I see you have some. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You know, for the Dortmund game, when I was watching it, I saw that you're actually right. Like, Dortmund was way more fit than Schalke in that game. And they were just beating them into every tackle, every one-on-one. They got to the ball first, and it was especially Guerrero. I think he was really fit. I don't know if he's been taking some special training or something, but he was going everywhere on the pitch, man. Guerrero, yeah, and he scored the goals as well. Yeah, so for the Dortmund, I think the Schalke team, because this Schalke team is actually like they're way better than this. They shouldn't be losing 4-0, and especially in the derby. Like, if you lose 4-0, it means something's wrong. And I think tactically, I don't think they did much wrong, because at the beginning of the game, it was pretty. I would say it was. You could say Schalke were even attempting to make some chances, and they were winning some battles at the beginning, but then it got worse as the game went on. So I think you're right about the fitness of the Schalke players. I think and I think this is going to be common also with the smaller teams in the Bundesliga, is that I don't think they had well, I think many teams are going to have the problem of fitness because I don't think they had the same level of programs that the big clubs had during the break, like the video calls. I'm sure many clubs have video calls, but I don't think it's to the same level and to the same routine as the big clubs, and the same checking and everything like that, checking fitness levels. And but even the big clubs, I would say the Bayern game, like Bayern is not looking good, to be honest. And I don't think I think it's normal that everyone's fitness is still not good. So I think Dortmund was actually above the rest this weekend in terms of fitness, because Bayern, if you watch the Bayern game, they were not risking. They weren't playing their usual game. They were passing back constantly, and they were, although they were looking decent, they weren't winning every battle, and they were not taking that many risks. So I think they were also wary of the fitness levels.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, fair enough, Hassan. I think that's a very good summary of the whole thing. So, I mean, I'll just put this out now. I assume everyone is just happy that football is back. Is there anyone here that feels that the lack of fans? I saw a few tweets today where people saying this isn't football, it's not real football. Fans aren't there. They should just stop everything. It's boring. It's bad. It's what is that. Does anyone here feel that way, or are they just happy the football's back?
But that's what I was just saying in my opening statement, though, Old Man G. I think that what they're scared of is we don't really know what the next season's going to look like. I mean, let's be honest here. Even now, experts are saying multiple different things. What if there's a second wave, all this kind of stuff. And I think what they're doing is they want to test just to see what it's like, or what the next season could look like if we had to do it this way. Because obviously the last thing we want is to encourage another spread by bringing football back a bit too early. That's why I think all eyes were glued on Germany, just to see how it's going to work. Is it even fine to do it like this? Because at the end of the day, we don't want to cause a spread just for the sakes of us watching football. So in terms of is this really football? I think the fans that are saying that are going to have to come to the conclusion that it might be like this next season. If you say, if it's not football without the fans, are you prepared to not have any football being played for a couple of years, a couple of seasons potentially? So I think that's why everyone was so eager to see what happens in the Bundesliga. Providing everything is done correctly.
Fair enough. Just shout out to Raymond Moore. Bundesliga is greatly capacity back. Thank you, Raymond. Shout out to you, Andrejko. Thank you so much for joining. Please check out his channel for those knows of fellow Manchester United fan Draco Gold. Please head over there and check it out. And Draco also says, I think it'd be better to have the season voided. Too much a risk to lives. Sport in general is nothing versus public health unless money talks. I mean, I don't think anyone on this panel, and I know, not personally, but I know generally everyone on this panel doesn't think that the public health of human beings is greater than obviously entertainment in football. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. I think the issue, though, is that there needs to be some sort of a plan as to what should happen. And clearly Germany have got their plan and they're executing it. And we're still awaiting to see what the UK plan, the Premier League plan is, what the League plan, the Serie A plan is, etc. So, I think it's just a question of
Serie A. They announced today that the Serie A is they're postponing the starting date to June 14th.
June 14th. Have they confirmed? Have they started team training though? I think has that been started?
Yeah. They started team training. Yeah.
Fine.
But it's still separate, individualized.
It makes sense considering how hard Italy was hit, really, doesn't it? Italy was one of the hardest hit countries, so I suppose just being a bit cautious is not going to hurt anyone at all. Yeah,
it's totally fair. I agree.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Another comment, Redmanx TV. Shout out to this guy. Please head over to his channel as well and subscribe. another United fan. Fully will turn in stage if it's safe to do so, in my opinion. I certainly agree with that. I think just because obviously everyone seems to be happy about them being come out, and that's good. With obviously, we can talk about the results, and with the fact that obviously Schalke lost, but more importantly, RP Leipzig dropped points as well. Gladbach actually won. We're getting an interesting title race here. Like, Bayern Munich are still ahead, but what do people think? Do people believe that Bayern Munich are going to win this, or what's going to happen? Like, do you think Dortmund have a shout? Who do you think is going to edge it with the remaining games going on? I'll go back to Montajo actually because he hasn't spoke. Montajo, are you there?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. What do you think?
About the Bundesliga results, title race, and everything, right?
Yeah.
I think so. What do you call? Bayern won the game against Union Berlin, and I believe that was a really good result for me, for Bayern, because the title race is tough and it's difficult for Bayern. I think that there's 3 points ahead of 4 points ahead of Dortmund. But to be honest, there's still difficult games to play, for Bayern Munich, especially against Dortmund. They have to play. I know they have to play away, right, to Dortmund, if I'm not wrong. Yes. I think they have to play away, which is again a really difficult fixture for Bayern Munich. And if you see the fitness level of Dortmund, they are already peaking. I don't know how they did it. Oh my God, that's something magical happened, and they're so fit, I mean, unbelievable. So let's see. I think so. It's on 25th of April or something like that. Sorry, May. The Bayern versus Bundesliga gamers. So I mean, Bayern versus Dortmund gamers. So we have to wait for that result. Anyone who wins that, I mean, if Bayern wins that, I think the league is wrapped. I think they're winning because they're super strong as well. And by the time when they reach towards that game or deadline, I should say, they will be more fit. I mean, they will be more ready as well, Bayern Munich. Mentally, they're ready, I think so. It's not about the mental aspect of the game. I think so it's physical aspect of the game for Bayern Munich. By the time, we have to also see, because the Dortmund right now, they're in really good shape and form. And Erling Haaland coming back, scoring goals. I mean, Lewandowski again, he's like third or fourth season, I believe, in a row where he scored 40+ goals in all competition for Bayern Munich, which again, he might look for some new challenges as well in Bundesliga, because there's so many goal scoring record. I think so he might look this season, to break Gerrit Muller's 40 goals league season record, something like that. So I think so he might challenge for that as well. So I think that would be really, good motivation for him as well, personal motivation individually. And it's difficult, man, to say right now. But Bayern is in the better place right now. Yeah. So I think so Bayern is have a good chance of winning this league. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. Going to Josh next. Josh, what do you think?
What was the question?
So basically, just Bundesliga title race. That's what the question was. So who do you think?
The guy spoke earlier, but the game between Dortmund and Bayern, was that at Bayern?
Yeah, that was at the Allianz. Yeah, where they lost 4-0.
Okay. So it'll be interesting because I remember last season, Dortmund won at their ground, but they ended up bottling the title race anyway. And obviously now they have no fans. The yellow wall's not there. It'd be interesting to see how that pans out. I mean, I watched most of the Bundesliga games this weekend, and Dortmund just looked so sharp. Like, it seemed that nobody was on the same level of fitness as Dortmund players. I don't know what they've been doing over lockdown, but it's definitely not what everybody else has been doing. They must have been, taking it really seriously. Which is good professionalism.
Maybe it's that they're younger. They're generally younger players, so maybe whereas some of the other teams have more older players in their team, and so obviously their recovery is more. Maybe possibly. That I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Dortmund's defense, but I know Schalke are actually a pretty decent side. They managed to keep a clean sheet on their return. Defense actually looked decent. Akanji was there, I believe, and Hummels, and I think it was it Guerrero and Hakimi is right back and left back?
Yeah.
So Yeah, honestly, Dortmund look really, really impressive. I think at this stage, they look definitely fitter than Bayern. So we'll just have to see.
Fair enough. Okay. Shawnee, title. Who's gonna get it? Who's gonna get it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a tough one because like throughout the season, obviously before all this pandemic happened, Dortmund were like miles away, you know, and all of a sudden they got Haaland and they just sprung back to life. And before we knew it, from one podcast to the next podcast, if you remember, all of a sudden Dortmund had caught up, and it was all really, really close. And I think even Bayern, or was it the other way around? Was it like Dortmund was no? I think it was like sort of Mönchengladbach, wasn't it? They were like top at one stage.
Yeah,
Mönchengladbach is still in the title race technically.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So like, it's just sort of kind of like it was kind of like a really strange looking table at one stage, and now Munich and Dortmund are sort of back where they should be, challenging for the top. And yeah, it just depends. Like I think the fella that has just joined us, he was like saying that it was Bayern maybe looked a little less fit of the two teams, so that could be a contributing factor. You know, if they come across someone that's maybe more fit than them, you know, it might be a stumbling block for them. But it just depends on how every team responds to what's happened and who's kept themselves fit and everything like that. So I guess over the coming couple of weeks we'll be able to determine, you know, who's going to I guess keep the momentum that they had before this pandemic happened, and just take that momentum through the next few stages and to the end of the season.
Fair enough. Okay. Lastly, we're going to Haslam. Haslam, what do you think about the title race here?
To be honest, I think Bayern's going to win it again. To be honest, but looking at the other teams, I think the most likely to challenge it's between Leipzig and Dortmund, because I know Mönchengladbach is doing well, and they had some convincing performances. I think they beat Bayern as well, but in that Bayern game when they beat them, I think even though they played well, but I think at that time Flick was still experimenting with the formations, and I think they did something like 4-3-3, which he doesn't with Thiago as a regista, and defensively they were lacking in that game because of that. So Flick was still experimenting, and they got a late winner, Mönchengladbach. So I think overall Mönchengladbach have been surprisingly consistent, but I think it's not going to last, or it's not going to be enough for them to be able to overtake Bayern or even Dortmund. Okay. So that's what I say for them. But for Dortmund, I think they're dangerous, and I think Dortmund actually is the biggest threat because of Haaland, especially. Haaland looks really dangerous. He's hungry. He's energetic. He can cause big problems to the defense, and he looks like a striker that can put up consistent numbers. So if you have Haaland in that team and you have other goal scorers like Jadon Sancho, then you could have a problem over there, because Jadon Sancho has also been putting huge numbers. And the reason I say that is for Bayern, most of the goals are coming from Lewandowski. So they need the rest of the team. Like Gnabry's doing well, but he needs to step up, and they need to put up better numbers. Muller's doing great in assists, but Muller needs to be scoring more as well. They need more support in terms of goal scoring, or else Dortmund's going to be a real danger for them. But I still think Bayern's going to be able to do it, because first of all, Lewandowski is doing an amazing season. I think it's his best season in his career, if you consider domestically. Domestically, I think his best season in career. He already has 26 goals, and so he's on track to getting like 40. He could even get 40 goals in the league. I mean, that would be insane. And I think because of that, and because Bayern has a deep squad, so they have many options in midfield, they can win the league this season. And of course, if Niko Kovac was there, I wouldn't say this, but Hansi Flick has got them playing really good football.
Yeah.
So I think Bayern can do it both in the league and Champions League. I mean, Bayern could win in trouble this season. I don't want to say anything, but they look really good. But yeah, let's see. Leipzig.
So that's true. That's true. You
bro.
know, they're the only team, you know, who's like alive with the treble chances this season. I cannot see any other teams.
Flick reminds me kind of on Heinkes, but you never know. But Leipzig also, they're dangerous. But you saw what happened this weekend. I don't know what's going on with them, and I don't know. I don't feel like. I understand Timo Werner, but I don't feel like Timo Werner can show up when they need them the most in the crucial moment inside the race. So I think that's the key.
I think my only thing, Hazem, I don't completely disagree with you. Is it's more actually just looking at like the final, the sort of last fixtures that Bayern have, and obviously their away trip to Dortmund. They're going away to Leverkusen as well. I know obviously the fans aren't there, you know. So but. And then I think they also have to play Mönchengladbach. They play them at home, and then they have Wolfsburg away. So those games, I would say, are not completely difficult, but they could struggle. You know, they could, especially if their fitness levels are not up to speed, they could easily lose that Dortmund game. And then obviously Gladbach, who are there, who will obviously want to mount some sort of challenge, they could potentially stumble there as well, even if it's a draw. You know,
but this is what I'll say. I'll say what we learned this weekend is, and this is why I think Bayern is the most dangerous, is that Bayern can get the win even when they're not playing well, and even when they're not up to fitness, and that's crucial. And I know it's Union Berlin, but Union Berlin away has never been an easy fixture. I think they beat Dortmund even. Union Berlin beat Dortmund at home. So yeah, I would say that overall Bayern. I see them winning because they can do it in the toughest moments, and they have the clutch players to do it. So even in those tough games against Dortmund, in the derby against Dortmund recently, Bayern have been getting the better. So, and Lewandowski has been dominating that derby. So I think Mönchengladbach game will be crucial. But let's see. I think Bayern can get through them, to be honest.
Fair enough, bro. Just some comments again. What has been proven, I think, will be key if we see many cases in the footballers in the Bundesliga over the weeks. Yes, I assume that, you know, if obviously we get a large spike of coronavirus cases in the Bundesliga showing, then that might obviously affect how other leagues respond. And Draco says, I like the fact they use the word logistic. Clearly a football manager, brother. So shout out Hazard.
It's just common in Serie A, so I don't know to use it. It's an Italian term, so that's why.
Fair enough, bro. So moving on to next topic. How good is Erling Haaland? Obviously, Haaland scored again in the Dortmund Schalke game, and again, naturally, a lot of the media press and hype has been around Erling Haaland, what he is. Even his interview afterwards was very kind of it was actually a bit weird, to be honest. It was sort of like almost tried to be like a Zlatan. I was strange. I was like, dude, man, you're 19, like just chill. It's okay, you know. I think Hazem posted something like that, something in Twitter, and I was like, what's this guy? What's wrong with him? But anyway, my opinion aside. Oh, sorry, Hazem, saying.
No, nothing.
Let's move on. Okay. Anyway, so I'll start with Montara actually. How good is Haaland?
Okay, so for me, bro, this guy is like right now. If you tell me how good it is, world class. Like if you tell me just now on just based off form, you know, and what he was doing since start of the season. I know it was like doing great stuff in Salzburg, but like, you know, a bit more lenient league and inferior to Bundesliga, way inferior. But since he joined Bundesliga as well, I mean, he's putting some great numbers. In Champions League, he showed up. I mean, how many goals he scored? 10 goals, something like that. He's just one behind Lewandowski. But like ultimately, they are eliminated, by the way. So PSG, but still, I'll say from the age of 19, that's pretty impressive for me. And I think so the ceiling is so high for this guy as a number 9. I think that this guy can pull out some big numbers. For me personally, when people criticize him, oh, he's not that good technical footballer. He doesn't have to be like he shouldn't have to be that technical footballer. Look how tall is this guy? It's like 6'5" something like that. How can you expect him to be technically that proficient on the ball or something like that? No. And but what he does, if you see his posture, his speed, and everything, and even he assisted as well. I think so. This guy is really good player. And for me personally, if he just keep on improving, like how should I say, like maintain his goal scoring chart, and if he's fortunate, if he don't suffer from any injuries, bro, yes, like I mean that's my thing, I think so we are witnessing, next Alan Shearer or something like that, but like with more goal score, a prowess, and this guy have eye for a goal, so he have that kind of like a judgmental move, smart move where he should be in the box, regardless of he score tap-ins or headers or like even like on top of the box or so outside the box. This guy knows how to score goals. I mean, and that's the biggest asset in world football right now. For example, club like Real Madrid, we struggle to score goals. We don't have that kind of goal scorer right now. So I mean, just imagine if this guy is like ready to move and any club is open, how much we will spend, how much Man United want a striker as well. I mean, at that point, I can understand why didn't Man United like pretty much rushed or like I mean, was not that eager, because at that point, Erling Haaland was like upcoming star, like upcoming young boy and all those things. So Man United didn't rush for. I can understand at that point. At that point, going to Dortmund was the better choice for him as well. And for me, bro, this guy have a higher ceiling, but again, I have to see him what he will do next season, not this season. I can understand, that he's putting numbers because every breakout star in his first season, he put some crazy amount of numbers, like for example, look what Mbappe, what we saw, like, but immediately after next season, he was slightly dead, you can see, you can see Piontek as well. For me, Luka Jovic, what we experienced last season, and I mean, we have to wait, we have to see, okay, he's good goal scorer. Let's see what he can bring next season. If you do that for next season, then yes, then you are a real deal, I'll say.
I agree. Sorry, was someone about to speak?
No, go.
Yeah, no, just I agree with my brother there. Like, it's all about consistency, but if we're basing it off, just this season, like, probably top 5 players in the world. He started off. This is before he even got to Dortmund. In the Champions League, he was breaking records. I think he's the first player to score, what was it, 6 goals in the group stage in the Champions League. Like the first teenager to do that, which is incredible. Like he absolutely. I mean, that was a tough group as well. It was Genk, Liverpool, and Napoli was the group. Was that the group?
Yeah. No, would it because who came second in that group? Napoli.
It was
no. Dortmund was with Inter and Barcelona.
Yeah, so it was Salzburg. No, this is before he went to Dortmund. It was
Salzburg, Napoli.
Salzburg, Napoli, Liverpool, Genk, or something like that. Yeah. Okay. And like, man, like he was absolutely. I mean, he got a hat trick in his first game. Like the guy, he's like you said, someone was criticizing his technique and things like that. But the man, he's a man mountain. I was looking at a picture of him when he was playing at his previous club. Molde, I think it was called, something like that, a Norwegian club. This guy's huge. He's absolute like he reminds me a bit of Lukaku when he was a teenager. It's like this guy is like if he looks like that now, like what's he gonna look like when he's like in his prime, But yeah, for me personally, this guy's just gonna get better and better. I don't think. I know we talk about the Luka Jovic's and the Catrones and people like that, but I think this guy, like, he's something different, man. You can kind of tell he's got that like elite mentality. Like he's banging goals in against PSGs and he scored against Liverpool. For me, like I want to see what he does against Bayern in that game this season. I know there's not going to be any crowd, and he kind of looks like a player that thrives off things like that. But I think we'll see it. in that game if he's got that mettle, because he kind of disappeared a little bit in the Champions League game against PSG, even though the service wasn't really there that much. But still, we'll see what he's made of. But for me, I think he's only just going to get better and better. But,
quick question, Josh. Do you think he's had a better season than Kylian Mbappe?
Yeah, I mean, and he's playing in a tougher league, and for me, he's got more goals than Mbappe in the Champions League, that's for sure. He at two different clubs, and you can't say with PSG, he's got Mbappe's got some world class people around him, At Salzburg, there wasn't that many great players there, and he was doing it himself. Dortmund, sometimes, some of the players can be hit or miss, but I know they've got the likes of Julian Brandt and Guerrero, etc. But this guy, he takes the game by the scruff of its neck. I don't see that necessarily that same fight with Mbappe. He's definitely talented, but I feel like Mbappe needs to go to a proper league. No offense if there's any League One supporters here, but you're just comfortable over there. You might, you're gonna win the domestic trophies, of course, but when it comes to Champions League, you're gonna struggle. So he's having a better season than Mbappe for sure, but Mbappe, I would say, is a better player overall. But yeah,
fair enough. Just become from Draco, shout out to bro. Haaland is one of the best young strikers out there. I think he has a very good career ahead of him. Seems to love football, and I think that's the general consensus. Hazem, what do you think about how good do you feel Haaland is?
Yeah, he's of course one of the best strikers in the world right now. I'd say you could say he's even close to Lewandowski's level this season in terms of his recent form and what he's been doing both in the Champions League and in the league. But I think if you look at what he's done since he joined Dortmund, he's proved himself that he can really show up consistently. And this season he's been showing consistency overall. But the one thing about Haaland is, first of all, his mentality. I can see that he's got a top mentality and he wants to win. But I'm worried about this weird confidence. I don't know what's going on. I hope he doesn't fall in love with himself too much, because then that could maybe hamper his continued development, because he thinks he's so amazing. And then
his agent is Mina Raiola, which is part of the
that's another problem,
because Mina Raiola wants to. He uses players and gives them to players, but he wants to make them more of a brand, a marketable brand instead of football. So that might be a thing. Sorry, go on, Nathan.
Yeah, exactly. His agent's Mina Raiola, so that already means he's not going to stay at Dortmund for long. But he already had interest from Juventus, but Raiola, I don't know if you guys saw, he said he didn't send him to Juventus because they would just put him in their under-23 squad. Just out funny. But yeah, I think Haaland, as long as he keeps his mentality at the top level, and he doesn't, if he uses the arrogance in the right way, like Ibrahimovic, and he doesn't make that mix with his training, then I think that's fine. I think he can really become a top player. And in terms of his playing style, like we saw, it was a great goal this weekend. And overall, he has an eye for goal. He's always at the defender's feet. He's the type of striker that you can never let your eye go off as a defender. And he's always there. And I think I want to see more from him in big games. Like in the Champions League, I know he showed up in the first leg against PSG. But for example, the Liverpool game in Anfield, I think it was, where everyone was expecting from him, but he completely disappeared. I think also second leg PSG, but he's still 19, so I'm not going to put too much on him. That's why we have to wait and see. But I think it's looking good. Also, maybe his ball control needs to improve a bit. I hope he has the ability to improve his skill set. And yeah, I think if he does that, I think he can become one of the great strikers, like Lewandowski. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Thanks,
actually, one thing I just want to add away.
The
thing is, like, it's a kind of question as well. How many players in the last decade, we have witnessed at the age of 19, they're so good, and they are like flamboyant as well at the same time. Because, like, I think so, we have witnessed like Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, in his early 20s, and then you have Zlatan, who was pretty flamboyant as well. But like, but like with Balotelli, you can see like the way he dipped and everything. For me, with Erling Haaland, bro, I mean, he needs a right direction and a proper coaching staff who can, I mean, you need a kind of mentor as well, I believe, for him.
Yeah, that's true.
And I mean, does Dortmund have mentor? I mean, like, he shouldn't be self-obsessed with him, because I understand where it's coming from, where he talk about, oh yeah, so what? Like, I like his after the game, in his post-match interview. I mean, the way he talked with the confidence, because that's what media is looking for. If you see world footballing media, and all those pundits, all over the shows, like, they're looking for your one or two mistake, or arrogance, or something like that to portray you as a kind of like you are a devil or something of like football. Like, just they want to portray with your image. So he have to be cautious over there. Aside from that, keeping that kind of confidence is like, it's pretty amazing, man. I mean, I like it. So yeah.
I'm quite sure that Liverpool's got a good coach if that's what you're looking for, someone to train him up in that kind of to make him a better player.
Yeah,
if you want to send them over, I would have nothing against that.
I thought you guys changed Werner, was it? Is that who you're getting, Sean? Timo Werner, isn't he going to Liverpool?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whether it's Timo Werner or Haaland, I mean, like I say, I think the guy was just saying there, he does have a really good skill set right now. I personally hope that he just stays at Dortmund for the time being. I think it's really unhealthy for players, especially young in their development, to just be skipping around clubs all the time. It really, really hurts them. That's why I'm kind of glad, even though Mbappe is maybe in a farmers league, and Josh just said there, like, he needs to get into a proper league. I think in a season or two, I think that would be the right move for him. Maybe Mbappe even now would be fine. But Haaland, he's in a proper league and he's challenging for Bundesliga titles with a good club. And I think that if he stays at Dortmund, he can develop further. I just think it would be unhealthy for him now to just keep like, okay, he's moved up. He moved up to Dortmund. Now he's going to go to another league somewhere else, another big team, that kind of stuff. I think when you're that young, when you're in that stage of your development, I think it's just healthier just to hone in them skills. Look what happened to Coutinho is a great example. I think another couple of seasons at Liverpool, Coutinho would have been a world-class player. It hindered him moving to Barcelona in that stage of his career, really did. So yeah. I think you have to be very, very careful. And Klopp, obviously, I would probably say the best manager in the world at the moment, would do a good job of Haaland, because he really feels for the players. He really wants a good relationship with each and every one of them. I don't think that goes for many clubs in the world that would give you that. They'd look. Klopp when he brings in a player, or he looks at a player, he'll actually like say, what can I bring to this player? What can I give to this player? Most other managers would like say, what's this player going to give me? What am I going to get out of this player? That's kind of how they think. So yeah, I would say he's absolutely fantastic. It's going to be so great to watch him in the next couple of seasons to see if he does become world class, because he's electric to watch.
Fair enough. I think has everyone had their say on Haaland? I think everyone has spoken. I think so that's good. So I think obviously with Haaland, it will literally just be a question of just wait and see. Like with any, like I think that Josh actually mentioned at the beginning of this, it's all about consistency. There've been plenty of players in the past that have had brilliant seasons, first seasons, But can you do that like year after year, month after month, etc.? Raymond Moore says, still grieving us not getting Haaland. Do you think United would have gotten Haaland if Wood wasn't in charge? Probably not.
Whoa.
I think that well, what's the relationship between it? It's Riola, isn't it? He's the agent. So if Riola didn't like United with or without Ed Woodward, then I don't think the deal would have gone through. But to be honest, I think that for him as a player, he probably also felt that his development was going to be much better at Dortmund than Manchester United, which is currently in a sort of a rebuilding weird process as well. So that's my 2 cents on the matter anyway. Watch this space. So quickly go on to the third topic, which I thought was quite interesting, and I don't know how much you guys know about it, but just because it was breaking, I think, a couple of hours ago, and that's that fact the Scottish Premier League basically ends the season early, and Celtic were crowned champions, which means they've got 9 in a row. I don't think there's been a lot of obviously Celtic are happy about it. Rangers, who were I think closest to them, 30 points behind, obviously not happy about it.
Oh my God.
Sorry?
How 30 or 13?
13.
Oh, okay. Thank
13.
God.
But I think the big I guess issue from this is more so from Hearts. Hearts, which is actually a big Scottish football team, got relegated, despite the fact that they were only really 3 points off their nearest challenger, and then 6 points off the nearest one after that. So. We lost Tasman, but I hope he'll come back. So yeah, I want to get what people's take on this, because it's going to kind of lead on to the fourth topic, because obviously Scotland is in the UK, and the Scottish have decided that they will basically stop the season. Do you guys agree with this, or like what do you guys think? I'll start with Shawnee.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'd imagine they just pulled the plug. I mean, at the moment, Scotland is in a good position to do something like that. I think Celtic, they didn't have as many games as the Premier League left, did they?
I think they still have a fair few. About for Mike and Gabba, like another 8 games.
Oh, another 8 games. Okay, fair enough. I'm completely. I understand. They probably just said, look, listen, let's just whoever's top now, give them the trophy, and just pull the plug early, and just and figure it out next season again. If there's going to be a next season.
Do you think that's fair on Hearts though?
Yeah, I mean,
Hearts are relegated. The financial implications that will involve. And they could have easily, 1, 2, or 3 games, got themselves out of that situation, and now they can't, and they'll obviously suffer financially because of it. Yeah,
it's tough, man. I think it is harsh to think about it like that. But I don't know. I suppose you in retrospect you could say, okay, what if Hearts got themselves out of it, that kind of thing, but. You got to respect their decision in terms of, safety and, well, maybe not say, yeah, well, pulling the plug early just to say, look, let's just make sure that first of all we're just on getting ourselves into a position where we can just reevaluate what's important, and then rejoin the season again next season. It's unfortunate for Hearts that something like that has happened, but you just have to take the punch and just get up again and just make sure that you get yourself into a better position, ready for next season. It's tough. I mean, no one wanted it like this. It's not like anybody predicted that something like this was gonna, have such a massive effect on the world, let alone sports. So I think Hearts will just have to take it, and I'm sure Celtic are completely fine with it, obviously. They are. Yeah, so Celtic are singing praises and Hearts aren't. That's how every season ends. It's just unfortunate that this season ended early. But what can you do? It's just one of them things.
Fair enough. Okay, Montaha, what's your thoughts?
Like, I'll be honest with you, I think so. Celtics have won like 9 or 10 in a row, something like that.
9 in a row, yeah.
Oh my God, bro. I mean, it's like, what difference does it make? Aside from financial impact, I mean, okay, like we are habitual of witnessing Celtic lifting this trophy, so I mean, it's nothing much serious from a footballing perspective, but when it comes to financially, I think so. Yes, it will impact them a lot. And the reason you asked the question, right? Like, okay, they're still part of the UK. I mean, but for me, I mean, like, Prem is like completely on different stratosphere, not just footballing, but even financially as well. You cannot implement or like, the kind of rules and regulation or, just cancel the league in a sense, just give championship to the Liverpool, because they're 25 points ahead, something like that, to Man City. But we cannot do the same thing because like there are so many teams, like the amount of money you generate, not just from fans, not just from selling shirts and everything. It's not just about that. It's about the revenue from TV rights and everything. So it's way more bigger issue than what we have in Scotland. So I believe that Scotland can, Scottish Premier League can overcome through it. But it's not the same thing. So, for example, you cannot give a same vaccination, for every disease because some diseases are different, So you need a different solution or antidote for that, I believe. So I think so. I mean,
Good analogy.
I know because this is what even the French Liga like they did. Like they canceled the league, and now they are thinking about like, oh, what bold step they took, and they're suffering now. They just realized that okay, still, they could have generated some money, by instead of canceling the league and like giving title to PSG ultimately. So yeah, man. So for me, I believe that Prem shouldn't take that kind of approach. We should still wait, and I think so. Like there's some time, for Prem because like it's still month of May. So okay, we are close, So still we have, 2-3 weeks left, to decide. Okay, should we cancel and crown Liverpool as a champions? Or should we wait for like, or should we like play the games? I still believe like there are some optimism. I can feel that's my personal opinion, and I think so. Situation will improve, and then we should. I think so. Then Prem should start with playing some games. So I think so. Yeah. So that's okay for Scottish Premier League, but it's not good for the league like Prem. Yeah.
Cool. Fair enough. I think last we were with Josh. What do you think? Josh, you there? I'll mute him.
Good day, man.
Oh, there you go. Go for it.
For it. Man, the Scottish League. Yeah, you feel bad for Hearts. It's obviously they don't just kind of make these decisions, spontaneously. They talk and it takes them a while to make these decisions. But the Scottish League, we see the same, winners every single time. It's a bit of a crappy league anyway, so honestly, I'm not really that bothered. Yeah, I'm just hoping as far as the other leagues, I don't. The Premier League should have been the easiest one to sort out already. I know, you Man United fans don't want Liverpool to lift that trophy, but you're delaying the inevitable, So you might as well they might as well call last season. I don't know what's going to happen with the Champions League and stuff. That's probably easier to do with the no crowd.
Really. You have to get the teams have to travel to places, don't they, out in the country. That's the biggest.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I know people are going about neutral locations and things, but it's going to be tricky either way. But yeah, give Liverpool the title. I'm not a Liverpool fan, by the way, but I'm just saying that.
Fair enough. Okay.
I am a Liverpool fan, and I say give Liverpool the title.
I'm a United fan, and I say we should finish the season and see what happens. So
20 years later.
So, at the end of the day, if they can lose to Watford in that capacity, then you're never going to happen. You know what I mean? So, So, and obviously with fitness and stuff, I mean, this is the thing. Going back to it again, like, obviously we're talking about a title here. I think the big reason for me is not so much the title, really. It's more the financial implications that this will obviously have on the potential relegated teams. So, if you were to stop the season now, you'd have to relegate the bottom 3 teams, and there would be massive financial implications for those clubs. Not only obviously the clubs, but the local community and stuff like that as well. And obviously the Premier League Hearts are suing the SPL for that reason, you know. So it wouldn't be ideal, I don't think. But you know, it is what it is. So I'm going to just go into the last topic. Now, give me 2 seconds. It's basically about basically, will the Premier League be behind closed doors? It's in terms of next season. You know, will the Premier League season next season be behind closed doors? Originally, I was going to talk about the Premier League returning, but I think generally speaking, I think that it will be unless something drastic happens, I would imagine the Premier League is going to be back. I think the question we're asking is that, are we going to have a full season next season? This is the last topic, sorry, where it's going to be behind closed doors. And I think the second question to follow on from that is like, how do you guys feel about the fact that the Premier League, and maybe not just the Premier League, but the Bundesliga, La Liga, all leagues, that there'll be a whole season that could be behind closed doors? So I'll go over Montaha.
Oh Lord, bro! I know this is coming, bro. Like, this is inevitable. Ultimately, like, you care about, like, you know, the public health and everything, so you have to follow the guidelines which is provided by the health ministry, I believe, for every country, especially top 5 league. You know, so like what they are saying right now is like they want to continue this closed door, you know, situation until the end of 2021. So I mean, till the end of 2020. So they want to continue till 2021 January. So in a sense, even if next season starts, I think the first half of the next season would be the closed doors as well. And, you know, big clubs should be ready for that kind of challenge, I believe. I know it's going to impact them financially a lot, especially those big clubs, you know, where tickets prices are like super high and, you know, like, I mean, it's like so expensive, you know. So that might have an impact on the summer transfers as well. Sorry, winter transfers as well of next season. I mean, 2021 January transfer. And I believe that like the clubs will do that. And like, come on, like, this is like such a massive risk to host at least, you know, 40,000, 50,000, you know, fans in a stadium, which is like, nah, man, that's too risky. You're jeopardizing not just your team, like the particular fan base or particular region, but like, I mean, you're trying to promote that kind of like, you know, it's like you're promoting a thing. Okay, like, who cares about the social awareness right now? You know, let's be more easy with the social awareness thing, because like governments are like, you know, they are pretty much scared of the second wave of coronavirus might be approaching. We never know. So I think so we have to be used to of watching the games as well. The closed doors, and I think so players will adapt definitely, because how long it will take for them, you know, for example, 5 games, 6 games, something like that. And I can understand, you know, when someone says, you know, oh, it's a closed door situation, so player will be not having that intensity level, you know, when they're playing against a rival team, or for example, there's a big games, you know, especially in the Champions League nights, you know. So that's also another discussion, but that's for another day. But I believe that like the entire 2020 calendar year would be closed doors. I believe, like especially for the big clubs, and it's going to have the terminal impact on the club's revenue. So, I mean, 2021 summer transfer window. Oh my God! Then there are very few clubs who can afford, like, you know, big players, and I believe that because it totally depends upon their reserves, how much they have in their reserves, and like it's dependent upon the viewership as well. For example, club like Manchester United, they have like massive fan base, you know, so they are such a globalized club. So I think so they can generate a TV, like, you know, TV viewership, even if it's a closed door situation. So I think so for a massive club, you know, with like, you know, millions of like fan following and fan base, I don't think so it will impact them that much. But for small clubs like Bournemouth, for example, Watford and all those, West Ham United, all these clubs, they're going to have a huge impact on them, because their revenue generation comes from selling tickets and everything. So I don't know how they will, cope up with the situation. So big clubs can do it. I don't know about the, average club or the clubs who are the lower bottom of the table.
Just a comment from Sammy. Shout out to some of the comments. Football doesn't excite me like it used to. Feels too different now. Unfortunately, it's become. And I mean, I highlight that, because while I'm happy, obviously, to see and watch live football, and I think everyone here will agree. I think I am, I don't know if this is going to be the new norm. I don't know how I'm going to feel after about a year. Of this, is it going to be something that, if this is what the level is going to be like, if this is how it's going to feel, like I remember when I watched a 5-0 pre-fight when United beat Lask, and it was good, but it was kind of, that was just it. And so it's like I will still watch football, but maybe I won't necessarily be as emotionally involved or engaged in it as I was when there were fans, So essentially, what I'm saying is I sort of agree with what Sammy's sort of saying, in that, like, I don't necessarily think that if we have this season behind closed doors, that if we're going to play, a derby, Liverpool, something like that, I'll watch it, but it won't have that same build-up, that it would have had if there weren't fans there. If that makes any sense, Sorry, before I get into Shawnee, actually, let me quickly rate Raymond's. I think fans will be allowed in stadium with the infection rate and death rate, which is 1 digit. Capacity might be reduced to half, where fans sit 1 seat away from another. Yeah, they do have to explore these options. I agree. Whether that will, the problem obviously is that the likes of the UK and Spain and Italy, who had some of the worst rates, you might see that in Germany sooner, for example. But I think that maybe in our countries, it might be a slower for that to happen. Who knows? Shawnee,
can I comment on that, please? I just want to make a comment. Yeah, it's. I mean, you cannot take a risk, even it's like 1-digit infection rate or death rate. So because you never know. The problem is not about the 1-digit infection or death rate. It's about the second wave. If second wave, and we don't know. So that's what I think. So we should take a precautionary measure for at least the entire this calendar year of 2020. So it will be better for all those big clubs, and I mean for the government as well to to trace everything. So I think so we should wait, and come on, it's too harsh to directly open a stadium and allow fans after 2 months. No. That would be like a disaster, man, if that happened. That's it.
Fair enough, Mantaha. Shawnee, what do you think?
Yeah, it's like kind of like your man just said then, like Mataha, it's kind of, it just all depends. Like, earlier on I was saying that we don't know what the season's going to look like next season. And I think that's why all eyes are on Germany right now, is purely because of that. It's unprecedented. So it's kind of like one of the, it's a new battle that we're fighting. And football, quite rightly, comes second when it comes to them kind of circumstances. So it's just one of them things where if by the time next season rolls around, there's no vaccine in sight, and maybe there's still pockets in the world that are sort of struggling to deal with the COVID, and that's where you really got to think like, okay, right, do we take a step back with football? Do we play it behind closed doors? And if that's the case, if they think to themselves, it can't be like, it should be all right, or maybe it's gonna be it's gonna be fine. If we do this, it's gonna be okay. We've figured out some precautionary measures. The way the state of the world is right now, there's nothing spreading anymore. There's going to be no second wave. That's kind of the language that you need to hear from everybody that's involved behind the closed doors to make sure that the fans can come back into the stadium. However, I don't think so. I think next season, by the looks of it, is probably going to be played behind closed doors. They're talking about like, season tickets for each Premier League club that you can actually buy, and then you can watch them, on your TV, that kind of thing. So that will also then keep the revenue coming in at the same time as the football still being played.
That's also gone, Sean. I'm going to mention something that you mentioned that's very, very important that I think that's good to talk about, because you mentioned that's very, very interesting and sorry to interrupt you, but if obviously the season, the league goes on behind closed doors, obviously the nature of football, the way that we watch football, engage football, is going to change. And if what you said is true, and that fans will now be able to watch, for example, all of their games for their respective team on a TV from some sort of I don't know, subscription with their club or whatever,
e-ticket or something like that,
then suddenly we're now going into a different area that, well, hang on for a second, why can't this be the norm? Not the norm in a sense that when we open up stadiums, that fans can't go back into stadiums, but that, one of the problems in this country in particular is that as a fan, you cannot watch all of your team's games for whatever reason, for the right reasons, on TV, a restriction when you can in other countries. Whereas if that has to be forced, then suddenly we're in a scenario where actually fans, no matter where they are, can actually watch all their team's games behind, from the comfort of their own home, with the option to also go to the stadiums as well. You kind of see why I'm sort of saying it, guys. It's almost like, I just think that what you've said is true, Sean, and I suspect it'll be very difficult to sort of then, bearing in mind as well that the amount of money that you pay for that type of sort of thing might be reasonable. So it'd be very difficult to convince those fans to be like, oh yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. You now need to subscribe to BT or Sky or whatever to get have to pay the same amount for less games. So it's kind of impact on football, but if that makes sense and if everyone understands what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's totally true. And like I say, that's if we get to the next season, worst case scenario. So it's just one of them things where you have to really try and figure it out. And the Premier League really has to be quite versatile with the options that they have, because if they get the options laid out in front of them that only has playing behind closed doors, minimal attendance in the in stadiums, I'd imagine not only the clubs but also the people who have the TV rights and all that, or not even the TV rights, but I guess you could say TV rights, pundits, all them people will be saying, okay, how can we step up to make sure that not only the revenue just continues to come into the club, but lives can go on as normal in terms of commentary or just a normal thing that we'd watch on Sky Sports. So I'd imagine if the only option was to have it played behind closed doors, I can't see them go through anything other apart from an online or maybe just some form of a subscription somewhere. Which, in a sense, if you were just talking on the grounds of money, let's just talk about money for a second. If you're just talking about money, could potentially make them more money, because if there's the option there for somebody else up here in Sunderland to have an Anfield e-ticket to watch all of the televised games that Liverpool play at Anfield for a price of whatever, 150 quid, let's say, that's an option that I now have that I wouldn't have had beforehand, and I'd probably pay it. So it could potentially make them more money. And like I say, it's not just about the money, but I'm just saying worst case scenario, if it means that it's got to be minimal people inside the stadium. So yeah, it's just, I mean, it's hard to say what the definitive answer is going to be going forward and what's definitely going to happen. But I'd imagine, plan A and plan B are going to have very different sides to them.
Fair enough, Sean. I'm going to just get into some comments that obviously flagged up, but this is very interesting topic because I thought this will be straightforward, but some of the questions, some of the themes that we're coming out from here, I think are quite important to discuss. And I might revisit it as the Premier League season comes back. Just Sammy says, the poor economy also takes Venice and lives. We have to adapt to changes to our lifestyle, which is a fair point. And then Red Devil, I like the vid, need to go. Content. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Sammy. Thank you so much. Raymond Moore says this, and I think this will be another point for conversation. I'm interested. I'll start with Josh. Given the circumstance that all clubs will see a decline in match ticket revenue, is it possible for clubs to sustain a ludicrous amount of wages that some players have? That's a
brilliant question.
Brilliant question, actually. Because United probably will be able to. I think I don't think anyone will disagree with that. But will the likes of even mid-table Teams like Newcastle, Bournemouth, or Burnley,
or Arsenal?
This is why we don't let Scousers on the podcast.
But yeah. Address that, Josh. Actually, I think that's actually a very good question, and something that I have not even.
It's an interesting one because, especially if this lasts a while, say this whole thing lasts maybe like a year, right? Think about things like the transfer window. Like if a lot of players, if a lot of clubs, their sales, their revenue is based on from the fans, from a fan's perspective, then how is that going to work with things like the transfer window? Like how they're going to be already at they're already at a disadvantage compared to teams like City and the likes of them, but they're going to be even more disadvantaged. Say this whole thing lasts a lot more than it does. I don't know. I think. I think it'll be an interesting one, but if this goes on for, say, maybe like a year, I don't know if it's even like morally right to keep those players' wages like as much as they are. And with teams getting involved in getting in trouble with financial fair play like City, I wonder what would happen. With a lot of these clubs, it'd be interesting to see.
Well, you said that they will relax financial fair play.
Oh, right, I see. So some clubs are rubbing their hands.
So, but I but sorry, go on.
No, I'm finished.
Okay.
Which club will be impacted the most from like top 10 football clubs in the world, like which we witness? The club name is Football Club Barcelona. This is not my agenda. See the financial and the wage structure. I mean, they are paying somewhat 18 million euros something to Messi, something like that. 30-40 million to Griezmann. I mean, their annual wages, bro. Their wage structure is like messed up, and that's what they're like forcing player to take 70% wage cut, 70% wage cut, which is like too much for a player as well, if you see. But how long that will continue, and if you see that there's no ticket sales, and Barcelona's 100,000 capacity of this the stadium, and they don't have that money. I mean, that's huge for them as well as a football club, and the wage structure. I mean, they have to take some drastic steps. That's why So they're coming with some plans. Let's see how it goes for them as well, because they're struggling with their net current debt as well, which is close to $1 billion US dollars when I say. So yeah, man. So they are really in the mess. So I mean, Man United should be aware as well, because I mean the wage they pay to players, like some of the players. I mean, doesn't Man United have the third highest wage bill in Europe or something like that?
Probably,
I
because
mean,
we have the first highest in the world. Sorry, not in the Premier League. Sorry. So, but I would certainly. I think Real Madrid probably have a higher wage bill.
Yeah, we have the second highest. I believe third is Man United, and fourth is somewhat PSG or something like that. So, I mean, Man United. I mean, I believe Man United can do that as well, but because they don't have net debt like Barca have. But if you see the difference between Man United and Barcelona, it's massive, man. I mean, the wages they pay. I mean, oof. So let's see how it goes.
No, definitely. No, I agree. I certainly think that teams that haven't got their if this goes on indefinitely, teams that haven't got their players taking pay cuts or never, even a club like Manchester United might have to negotiate things. And I think that when we're now talking about the transfer window, and we see so many rumors about who's going to buy what. We don't even know when the transfer window is going to be open, let alone if clubs are going to have the money to be able to buy players.
You know ideas? You know what, bro? I think so. Instead of buying or selling players, it will be swap deal. So most of the club will look for an option of trading their players. For example, you give me this one, I'll give it out. Like that was the most feasible option right now you have.
Like Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
Like what?
Ignore that. Ignore that. Just I was making a joke.
So that's what we are seeing. Like for example, rumors like Juventus wants to swap deal with Barcelona and all those things. So I think that will happen for next season or the season, something like that. At least, yeah. Instead of buying the players on the for 100 million players, nah, that's not happening.
No, interesting. No, interesting. I mean, I guess so. Before we round up, like, which teams? Obviously, here's a question. Here's a question to end. And I'll ask everyone this, and then we'll obviously wrap things up. And thanks everyone who's listening and watching. I really appreciate you guys. Please remember to like the vid, share it, subscribe to the channel as well. But yeah, here's the last question. If the Premier League next season, in fact, let's say the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, and Bundesliga, I'll put one behind close of the season. Which team do you think will be affected in every league, in those four leagues? I'm not going to count Uber Eats French league, but in those four main leagues, which team do you think will be affected the most by football being played behind closed doors next season? So one for Premier League, one for La Liga, one for Serie A, and one for the Bundesliga. So I'll start with Shawnee.
It's a tough one, I guess. You would be looking at likes of Man City and clubs like that have just
Man City affected? They don't have any fans. What's going on there, man?
Well, I'm talking about. Are you talking about affected most financially?
No. Just in general, just in terms of just as a club, how they perform in the season. Yeah, I'll hunt more about performance. So the fact that the season will be behind closed doors, which team will be affected the most?
Well, Arsenal are definitely going to thrive, aren't they? Because they won't have anyone booing them. There's a lot of Arsenal smack at the minute, but yeah, no,
Okay, so give one positive and give one negative. Then, which team will be in each league? Which team will be affected positively by this, and which team will be affected negatively by this? And I'll give mine at the end.
Yeah, I still think the top clubs, because the thing about the top clubs is they have these big stadiums that sort of spur them on with just this massive following that goes to each ground. And that's sometimes determines why some of the big players actually go to these big clubs, is because of the fans. The fans that are so passionately chanting their name and that kind of stuff. So I think still, I think the bigger clubs in the leagues are probably going to be hit more. Whether, I mean, if like a lesser club, you think like Sheffield, for instance, If
you had to pick one specifically, Sean, like which team will be affected one team will be affected positively and one team will be affected negatively, out of this, which one do you think it would be?
One team on my days that would be affected. Well, I guess because it's such a huge spectrum, I'd probably just say Sheffield in the Premier League, just because they're such a small club anyway, and well, then again, it's an advantage because if they go to Anfield, they don't have the crowd down their backs, So once again, I'd have to say just one of the big teams. I'd just say someone like, Man City not having any fans behind them, in their home ground, or even Anfield. We've made such an incredible fortress this season at Anfield. Not have been beaten there in like a year and that kind of stuff. So if we don't have our fans there, I think it would just have a psychological effect against the team. It's just like who we're playing for. I mean, the manager would have to say, they're still there, they're still watching. So bring your best team. But it's hard to tell really in a stage like this. But the big teams would be affected because they kind of used to that passion, behind them. Bar Arsenal, obviously.
Fair enough. What do you think, Muntaha? Oh, sorry. I mean, I should have said before we go into Sean. What about your what about those teams in the Bundesliga, La Liga, and Serie A? Just you don't have to explain to them, but just name them, like which teams in best.
I'll go Juventus.
Nice.
Juventus.
Nice.
Yeah. Bundesliga wise, I'll go Dortmund. I mean, yeah, because once again, they just don't have that. They just wouldn't have a home advantage anymore. So I just go Dortmund.
Wow, I agree with you. Oof.
Yeah. yeah, that's it.
And La Liga, sorry, that's the last one.
La Liga, yeah. Barcelona, just unbelievable stadium that they've got there. Just having that empty would be so strange. Would have a huge effect on the team.
I have a question for you. Can you read my mind? Oh my god! How can you read my mind, bro? Okay, let's go.
Well, we know what Montaz would have said anyway.
Yeah.
Montaz, so
okay. Yeah, so for me, from Prem, I believe that the most affected one is Liverpool, which I agree. And the reason for that, like that fan factor, the fortress thing, I mean, you go at Anfield and it's not going to be easy. One mistake will cost you the game, I think that factor is gone, right now. I mean, if you see, I might be wrong completely, the players might be mentally so strong that, even they, I mean, it's ultimately it's about how mentally you're prepared, even you're at home, so it's like a mental game. I say mind game situation right now with Liverpool. For next season, I think so Liverpool will be the most affected, and the other team from Prem, I think so, who have advantage, I believe either it's Arsenal or it's between Chelsea and Arsenal for me. The reason Arsenal, because just the other person said before me, they don't have that kind of atmosphere. I mean, and the players, they boo them, I mean, the fans, they boo the players and everything, and they don't have that kind of pressure as well. It's more of a training session for them. So you never know, it might get the best out of them as well. And Chelsea, for me, when I see Chelsea struggling against sides for example, Man City and all those, team where they play at home and usually Man City beat them, and that kind of fan coming at them, pressurizing them, so that won't happen, with Chelsea, I believe. So they might also improve. And from La Liga, definitely it's Barcelona, because if you see Barcelona at home, I mean, they lost 3 games this season. I mean, at home, something like one. They didn't lose any game this season at home, but away they lost so many games because of the factor, because there's no fans to back them right now. I mean, if you see if it's closed door, I mean, you can see the difference, in Barcelona playing style, the approach and how they are prepared, and mentally they're so fragile, So I mean, we know what happened with Barcelona when they play away, and the fans are not in their favor. So right now we don't have any fans in Camp Nou, and that could have huge impact on them. And the team who like might be have favor advantage in La Liga, it's Atletico Madrid, I believe. I believe they was like they're so strong mentally, and they don't care about the fan situation anything with them. And especially when they play away, I mean, they usually struggle against Barcelona away, or even Madrid, going away in Sevilla, even Valencia. I mean, there's usually like at times they struggle because of fans and everything, because that stadium is like so fortress, man. It's not that easy to go and beat the team because fans are backing them every time, and there's like abuse, from fans as well for them as well. So I think it's better for like they are the only team I believe in La Liga who have massive advantage. From Bundesliga, I believe it's Dortmund. Because in the long run, because okay, this was the first game where Dortmund played, but ultimately there'll be a kind of situation with Dortmund where there's no more yellow ball, so they will struggle a lot. And benefit, I believe it could be Leipzig, who might benefit the most from this, from Bundesliga. Which team I left with? Oh yeah, I think so. The most impacted team in Serie A, I believe, would be Juventus. Because Juventus, like they have those kind of atmosphere as well at home, where fans back them, and they usually beat most of their position, in their home ground. So I mean that's also an advantage for them. But next season or this season, you don't have that, so you don't have extra cushion of those fans, who used to terrorize opposition players and everything. So I mean that's not there as well. And the team with the most benefit, I think so, Atalanta will benefit most because the way they play football and the hyper attacking football they play, especially going in away ground and play like that kind of football with no fans, no pressure. I mean, that's heaven, my friend. So yeah. So I think these are the teams, bro. I believe. Yeah.
Fair enough. Thanks, Montaha. And Josh, what about you?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with what the boys are saying. I can't really think of anyone who would be even more effective than those teams. Yeah, I agree with both of those guys.
Okay, fair enough. I'll just add my 2 cents. Obviously, wrap things up. I think obviously Premier League wise, I think to be honest, I think the biggest club that will be affected most, I think, is Liverpool. I think just because, as Taz already said, there's a reason why Liverpool have still, although I know they were defeated by Atletico Madrid, I'll bet in injury time, but in the league, they've been unbeaten at Anfield all season. I think a lot of those come from the atmosphere at Anfield. So I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool started losing games at Anfield, just because that intimidating, that Anfield atmosphere isn't there anymore. So I think from that point of view, I think they would be a team that'd be, I think, quite negatively affected by it. I think positive-wise, it's a tie between Arsenal and City. I don't think Arsenal as much. I know there's a lot of negativity around Arsenal, etc. But when they do,
thank you, old man G.
But when they do win, they do win, and when there's positivity, they want the fans on board. I mean, to be honest, I think the team is going to be Man City. I think I simply just because they just don't have fans. Like their stadium can be half empty. So they already played in that environment before. They're used to it. So I think that like they're not City are not don't City the way that I've seen City play. City are not a team that are reliant on passion from fans. They're not, so they're just relying on the style that Pep and other coaches stuff like that play. But I've never seen City play where like they sort of channel the sort of the spirit of the fans to sort of get through a game, which is why when they're losing, they often find it difficult to come back because they just don't have that to go on. So I think City will be fine. Looking at the other leagues, La Liga, I think I agree with Montan. What a lot of people said. I think Atletico Madrid will thrive just because of their fortitude. I think, and I think that Barcelona, I think, will be the team that are going to suffer. I think. Well, Barcelona or Real. No, I think maybe Barcelona will suffer. Real Madrid, I don't think won't, because Real Madrid fans have a lot of high expectations and pressures, so it might actually be beneficial for Real Madrid, especially because their way form tends to be quite good. So I think Barcelona, I think, may struggle. When it comes to the Bundesliga and Serie A, I think the Dortmund, again, as you guys have said, are going to be the team that's going to struggle. In terms of team that will benefit, what will be a team that will benefit? I'm not going to really. I don't think Bayern will necessarily benefit from there being no fans.
I'm telling you, bro, Leipzig will benefit most because they usually struggle away.
Yeah, I agree with the Leipzig thing, because I think that Leipzig and is it Leipzig and Hoffenheim? I think both those two teams. I think they get a lot of hate because of the financial circumstances that their clubs were taken over. And they get a lot of hostility, more so because I think you guys will even remember the Bundesliga game before the regime where I think it was it Hoffenheim versus Bayern? I think it was Hoffenheim versus Bayern, and they had to call it early because the Bayern fans carried some banner or something like that showed some profanities for the Hoffenheim coach. But anyway, yeah, I think I agree that either Hoffenheim or Leipzig will benefit because they're not going to get hostility from the Bundesliga fans because of their ownership. And lastly, as far as Serie A is concerned, I think Italian fans are just mental. So, I think all clubs are going to suffer in that league because of the lack of fans. To be honest, I can't think of one team that will benefit from having no fans, because just Italian fans are just so diehard and passionate that they'll miss that. Maybe I don't know. I can't because Atalanta, even Inter, Juve, maybe AC Milan. Maybe, I don't know. AC Milan might be because they're so bad now. Well, not bad, but I think maybe the expectation might not be put on them as such. So maybe AC Milan. So that's my 2 cents. Anyone else having to say on that, or does that make sense?
That sounds good, man. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so yeah, we're going to wrap this up now. Thanks, guys, so much for coming on. And thanks, everyone who's obviously watching, got involved in the comments as well, and got the questions on. If you're new to the channel, please like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio. Also, head over to FUMIINSHO's channel as well and give him a like and subscribe as well.
Thank you, guys.
We'll be doing this weekly, so Mondays, 9:30. Stay tuned. Have a nice day, guys, everyone. Thanks to Sean, Montaha, Hazem, who's on, and Josh for taking part. And if you want to get involved, please DM me on Twitter or leave a comment in the description. Have a nice evening, everybody, and cheers.
Peace.